And we are recording.
Okay, great. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Sarah Smith's Go Team meeting, where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed to you and publicly noticed. I'd like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Go Team. Only members of the Go Team may participate in the discussion. Any members of the public present are here to quietly observe. For the members of the Go Team, please identify yourself when you speak. I, Ben Miller, am pleased to call this meeting of the Sarah Smith Go Team to order at 3:16 p.m. on December the 6th. Our first order of business is to call roll. The secretary will now call roll.
Yes, please respond present when your name is called. Mr. Hudson,
Present.
Mary Posada,
Present.
Ms. Dickerson,
Present.
Mr. Miller,
Present.
Ms. Berry.
She may be running a little bit behind. We were in another meeting together just a few minutes ago.
Okay. Mr. Osby,
Present.
Ms. Lamar, she's still out?
No, she's back too. We were on the same meeting together.
Okay. Ms. De La Torre,
Present.
Ms. Reed. And I, Allison Stroke, am here.
Great.
This team will only be able to take official action if a quorum is present. Oh, that was Ben, sorry.
That's all right. Is there a quorum present, Allison?
Yes, we have at least 5 members, so we do have a quorum.
All right, fantastic. So our first order of business then is to approve the agenda. This was provided to you ahead of the meeting by Allison. Are there any changes to the agenda? Okay, there being none, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Thank you, BJ. May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Simona. All in favor, please say aye so the secretary can record your vote.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions, please say abstain. Okay. We'll now review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. The minutes have been provided to you in advance via email. Are there any corrections to the minutes that you received? This is from our meeting on October 20th. Okay. There being no corrections offered, may I have a motion to approve the October 20 meeting minutes as presented?
I move to approve.
Thank you, BJ. May I have a second, please?
I second that.
Thank you, Mary. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say no. Any abstentions, please say I don't know. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Our first action item today, or our first discussion item, is the 45-day CIP check-in. Mr. Hudson, can you please provide us with a update here on this item?
Sure thing. I will share my screen. Give me a second.
Great.
So here, these are, one second. Okay, so this is the actual CIP plan that we are working off of this year. And our CIP goal number 1 centers around literacy. And our goal, overall strategy and goal, was to utilize PLCs to plan and implement effective Tier 1 practices. And so as we take a look at our action steps. The first action step is to implement foundations with fidelity. The second is to implement an intervention block. The third was to implement guided reading. The fourth, implement Lexia with fidelity, ensuring that teachers utilize the skill builders and other tools in the program. And the fifth being implement PLCs with fidelity, focusing on the know and show of the standards. And so when we look at that, of course, foundations, intervention, guided reading, actually all of these are still in progress. It's something that we're doing throughout the year. But we have begun everything that you see here. And it's just one of those things that we will continue doing throughout the year. If there's anything that I would say we need to do a little stronger push on is the guided reading, but we have implemented it. We've trained our teachers on all of that. On a PL day, we brought in outside consultants with the support of the district, and they trained all our teachers on guided reading, and we're beginning to implement it across the grade levels, but it's still a work in progress. Second goal, same thing, except we're referring to math now, math and numeracy. And so we will utilize PLCs to plan and implement effective Tier 1 instructional practices. Our intervention block, same thing. We have implemented the intervention block with Do the Math, and we are also now purchasing happy numbers to accompany the work that we're doing with the intervention block. The intervention block is Do the Math and HMH, but for the other students that don't need interventions and we're just looking to push them, Happy Numbers is a program that lets the students work independently. It also is adaptive, so it's based on their skills and differentiated to their levels. And so we're hoping to see some results with that. HMH is the district intervention block, which we are implementing. Manipulatives and number talk. So our coaches have been doing training with the teachers, talking about this in PLCs, and we're beginning to see some of that work. If you look at our Twitter feed and just from going to classes and observing as a team, we're starting to see more use of the manipulatives in class. And we're just looking for a stronger push on that and get more teachers using them, but they have begun to use those as well. Implement common assessments. That is one area that we have not started yet, not in math. We've done it for writing and we've done some other ELA assessments, but we have not fully implemented common assessments across all grade levels. And then implement PLCs with fidelity, focusing on the know and show of the standards. That is in progress as well. We'll be doing that throughout the year. The next one is concerning our students and the whole child, and this is implement care team with 100% fidelity using the 7 core components of a care team. The first step was to form the care team to address the needs of students. That is completed. Also, meet weekly as recommended to determine the needs of students that require additional support. That is in progress. We meet every week. And also, we were evaluated by the district to check on the performance of our care team, and Sarah Smith's care team actually scored exemplary in that area. And so we won't have any visits. I didn't realize my camera was off, sorry. Also, the third one, assign students that identify as extremely elevated to the social worker, school counselor, and SEL teacher for small groups and additional support. So we did that with our first round of BASC assessments. And we are going to continue with that throughout the year. We had the second round, and so they're looking at that now to form small groups of students with the teachers and working with the groups the students that need support. I don't think we have to cover family engagement, but since it's here, host events in the communities of our students to share resources and information. We have not begun that, so that is something we need to implement. Host parent workshops to share resources and services offered at the school. We have not begun that yet, and provide an online resource hub for parents. That has started, and we're looking at just making sure that we refine the resources that are in there and share those out with our parents in the community. So that that is the brief check-in for now.
Great. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or was there any areas in there that you'd like to discuss? So the next item.
Oh, I did.
Oh, thank you. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Hudson, I know there was sent home some communication about a new tutoring service, and I think it differs from what was offered in the classroom.
What was the name on it? Because there are some people working with our students that's, it says EAF.
Yes, and
Those-
yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
My teachers were not well-versed in what it was.
And that's because they're working with the students. This is a volunteer organization. They receive grants, and so they're working with our students that are in the after-school program.
So it's not connected at all to MAPS testing?
They're using some of that data, but it's not school-wide. It's really the children that are in the after-school program that they're working with. And based on MAP scores, they are trying to push some students that need to be, that need some acceleration. But for the most part, it's just the students in the after-school program that they're working with at this time.
And then so the Wednesday tutoring with Smith teachers will stop.
Not stop. It was just put on a pause and
Yeah.
will return in January. And then it's not necessarily on Wednesdays. Each teacher will be able to decide which day they would like to work with the students. It could be during lunchtime, it could be before school, or it could continue Wednesdays after school. They'll just have a little bit more flexibility as to when they're working with the students, but it will continue back when we come back in January.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Simona. Were there any other discussion areas or questions? Yeah,
Ms.
Mary.
Arfelli?
Go ahead, Mary.
Are there any initiatives of efforts around behavior?
So that's when so two things. Part is looking, well, the major thing is the care team. So when we see students that have issues with behavior and it's repetitive and the interventions that we have in place aren't working at the classroom level, then those students are referred over to the care team where we have discussions about what we can do to support that student, do a deeper dive into what's happening with that child, if there's some home issues. And a child that goes on the care team is not supposed to remain on the care team. They just go on so that we can look at what are the issues, what are the concerns that child is having, provide that support, and then either it gets better or we refer them to the next level so that they can get the support that they need within the school. I also take a group of some of the children that we have a group of younger kids that I meet with every Wednesday. Some have emotional needs, some have behavioral needs, but we meet every Wednesday morning to work on behavior and self-esteem and any emotional needs that they may have in the morning. So that's my little group for now, K-2, but the counselor and the SEL teacher, as well as the social worker, are also gathering together to pull groups of small groups of children that need support in certain areas, whether it's self-esteem, behavior, or so forth. And that's in progress right now.
Thank you, Principal.
You're welcome.
Okay, any additional discussion? Okay, our next discussion item is the strategic plan and the continuous improvement plan alignment. So on that, Mr. Hudson, can you kind of provide us with the kind of broad strokes of how these are aligned or whether they're misaligned, and then kind of follow on to talk about whether there are updates needed to the strategic plan from your view to be able to, properly sort of move forward?
So yes, and there are a few things. Let me share my screen again. Now I'm in the actual, I'm jumping into the presentation that was shared with us from the Go Team office. One moment. it was just easier to go through the 45-day check-in going right from the actual continuous improvement plan. Can everyone see the screen fine?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so one of the things that they asked us to look at, I guess, before we go into that is the ACES presentation. And it stands for accountability, collaboration, equity, and support. And this is where I basically had to stand in front of the superintendent and a panel to discuss Sarah Smith, our progress, our needs, our strengths, and the data of the school overall. And so just so that you all are aware, and just a quick brief overview so that you can see, you know, they asked this basic demographic information. How long were we at this? How long have I been at the school? Years as a principal, status of IB, the current enrollment, which this has even changed since then. I believe we're at about 900 now. Excuse me. Staffing information, number of first-year teachers are 3. At that time, we had, I believe, 3 vacancies. And our personalized cohort, personalized learning cohort, which we're in wave 3, so we will begin next year. Some of this was misaligned when I copied it over. We have approximately 136 English learners, 80 students with disabilities, and about 122 gifted students. So as we talk about the school data, these are some of the things that we have to look at and plan for. Our attendance take rate, which just means the amount, you know, when the teachers go in to take attendance, how accurate we are. In September of 2021, it was 94.7. This year, we're at 98.4. Our average daily attendance rate dropped a little from 95.2 to 94.1, and students not chronically absent went from 86.9 to 82.5. And so we talked about different strategies, and the attendance and the care team are working on calling. If you hear about the attendance parties happening now and things of that nature, that's all to improve the average daily attendance rate. When we look at our suspension rate, is very low. And so we're just hoping to maintain that by, you know, implementing SEL, using the counselors, using the BAS data for small group, the SEL, social worker, all of those work together. All of that staff works together to hopefully keep and minimize the need for suspension. When we have had to suspend, we usually resort to in-school suspension first and not out of school, because we need the children in school to learn and to be there. So that's the data there. We're just working on keeping that rate low. Then moving over to our MAP assessment. At this time it was fall to fall, but as we continue now, we have our data for winter, and in a future meeting we'll take a look at that. But what I shared at this particular time was looking at our overall performance, and we also talked about the needs of the school, the needs for more Tier 1 instruction, which you'll see as part of the continuous improvement plan, coaching with you know, all of our team that works on instruction, as far as Jennifer Barry, Ashley, and Carla Lamar, as well as the admin team, where we all work on coaching the teachers to hopefully improve these results, and differentiation and all that goes into the school day to help. As you can see, what we want to do is move from this area where we see the green, we'd like to be more to the right green, and eliminate so much of this yellow and the red, which is not up to par, and it's just the work that we have to do.
Will you go back to that? When's your meeting that you have to present all this?
I already presented that.
Oh,
That
you
was
already did it.
October. But we'll be presenting again. I can't remember what the next date is. That was the first one. I'll come back again, and they'll have all the new data, and we'll talk about how we grew, or how, you know, if we didn't grow in the area, what we believe the problems are, and I have to address all of that. And so I also shared this with the teachers, because sometimes, you know, they feel like, oh, well, they're always talking about data, but I want them to know that as we're talking to you about data, we're also having to explain the data to the superintendent, and this is why we put it in front of you and we talk about strategies and things that we need to do in order to help improve the scores and make changes in the school, you know, to help improve the outcomes for students. Because ultimately, we can talk about data, we can talk about green, yellow, red, but ultimately, we're talking about children when we look at each one of these numbers. And when I see 35 plus 17, what is that, 42% of our students needing more growth in certain areas, then if you're thinking about, you have a group of 10 children and 4 of those children are not working up to par, that's part of the reason why we talk about the changes and the need for Tier 1 instruction and differentiation and tutoring and all those things that we do.
Right. I mean, it looks like there's some improvement though, if you look from fall to fall. In
There's some
math,
improvement.
some improvement. I mean, it's good.
Yep, at
ELA is a little worse, but
first grade was sitting at the top when we looked at the most recent data. And I think in math, they were sitting at the top for the highest number of above, and I'm so tired. I've done a lot of driving. I'll tell you guys about that later. But when we talk about the distinguished and meets expectations, those 2 green areas, first grade was doing really well with that. And so we're going to analyze that further as the year goes on and continue to talk about how we can improve by teaching the standards and using Tier 1 instruction within the classroom. This was the HMH dosage at this time. So when we talk about intervention and how we're doing with our intervention, this should state 20 minutes, I believe. They're supposed to have 20 minutes per week. They're supposed to have 20 minutes per week, and we were just shy of that for Reading 180. We made it in iRead, and in System 44, we were way below the mark. And then they asked me, what are you doing about that?
where's this data coming? Where's this coming from?
That's coming from the HMH. So when we talk about intervention and what we're doing for our students that are struggling and need additional help in reading or growth in reading, and well, reading specifically, with Read 180, System 44, and iRead, that's the data where the students are supposed to be on the computer for 15 minutes per day with the teacher, and then another 15 minutes on the computer, and then 15 minutes with the teacher. And then they swap, and then the other group goes on. So this is our intervention that's really tailored to their needs to help them grow in the areas of reading. System 44 is for the students that still need, in the higher grades, that need help with phonics, and the Read 180 and iRead are working on those things with iRead with the younger students, and Read 180 is working on the comprehension and reading with the older students. Any questions about that? Okay. So this goes back into the CIP. So we kind of discussed this already as I went through the CIP, but I also had to pull this up and explain this before the superintendent. Very nerve-wracking, if you want to know the truth. And once we finished, I sat down and was very relieved, but it was nerve-wracking to stand before and just go through all of that. But that's part of what we have to do. And it really made me think about what changes need to be made, what improvement needs to be made, how can we support all of our students, how can we help grow the students that are gifted, but also really help our students that need more support with reading and math in the areas where they need additional growth. And our students with special needs, ESOL, all of that was asked about during the course of the presentation. Do we have any questions about ACEs? So I took, this is a real small, this is an eye buster. It's really small, but this is the template that they gave us. And when you looked at the previous strategic plan, as well as the CIP. We merged both of those onto this document. So this is what we need to look at if we need to make any changes, if we feel like things from the CIP were not addressed on this form. This is what we're going to take a look at and see if we need to make any changes. I already see a small change with the numbering here. So can everyone see the screen?
Yes, we can see it.
So just kind of taking a look at that, thinking of our previous plan and the CIP that we just went over. What do we need to change? What do we need to add? What can be removed? And we'll talk about those on the next slides.
So where did y'all get the 56 to 65 on the milestones? Just
So that was, when I looked at the previous goal, what they told me to do was look at the previous goal and then look at where we are right now. This plan here is really a 5-year plan, but it ends in 2025. So we looked at where we are now and looking at improving by 3% a year. That's where we should be in the next 3 years. But originally when it was made, I believe everyone started in 2020 and it went from 2020 to 2025.
okay.
Remind me on the SMART goals, the fourth one, the last one, what is ADA?
Average daily attendance.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So just to confirm, I mean, this is a pretty, because these look very familiar to me from the past strategic plan. So is there anything sort of new here that wasn't in the old format of the strategic plan?
So when you look at the SMART goals at the top, those came from our current, more or less they came from our continuous improvement plan now.
Yes.
And were just stretched out to make it for 5 years. I don't believe those were the exact same goals that they had. I believe this is also more streamlined. You don't have as many goals and bullet points as you did in the prior plan. That you can go on the Go Team website for Sarah Smith and click on the previous strategic plan and see what was there. I took out some of the main points and strategies that I thought would work and embedded those in this one. But if we look at it and say, you know what, I really think that this should be in here from the prior plan, or this was left out, or here are some additional changes that we need to make, then that's fine. We can add that in. We talked about this before and we didn't have it on the right format. So I put it on the correct format now. And so this is just something to look over. It is not set in stone and it's really part of the work that we need to do and agree upon. So if you all have any feedback or input on anything that needs to be changed, or you say, you know what, this is too much to focus on, let's reduce it a little bit further, that's what we'll be doing today too. I'm gonna make a call to Ms. Torres while we're on the line. Excuse me, while everyone's looking this over. Hola, señora.
So,
One of the things that I see right now, and I guess we'll talk about it, is I'm looking and I do see one thing about ESOL, but I do want to make sure that we highlight and make sure that we're supporting our English learners as well as our students with special needs. I see gifted on there, but I want to make sure that that's highlighted because those are three of our biggest subgroups.
So I was wondering, I don't know if it makes sense or not, but in the last creating a system of school support and the school strategies, utilize IB learner profiles. I was wondering if it might be more high leverage to use inquiry there. The inquiry or student agency. I know those are some things that we are going to focus on.
That's in which section, Ms. Barry?
Creating a system of school support at the bottom, and it's under the school strategies, it's 8B. It just as I look at creating a system of school support, says collective action, engagement, and empowerment. And I feel like maybe inquiry and or student agency might be, might fit that better.
I'm also wondering if when we look at fostering academic excellence for all, if we need to move it into that area with the inquiry, student agency, and so forth, and the learner profile.
I think you could also put the learner profile in that building a culture of student support.
Okay, keep those thoughts because I think in the next couple of slides, we can talk about the improvements that need to be made.
Do we have anywhere on here about maybe making Sarah Smith a place that teachers want to work and where we can retain our teachers? Or does that not really go on this?
So there was, it
I
was
thought there
there.
used to be. Yeah.
It was there, and I guess that would fall under 6 and 7. Not
Yes,
6 and 7,
probably.
equipping and empowering leaders and staff. So we can
Right.
definitely add that.
I think we need to focus on that a little bit.
Let's put a note there so that as we go on that we can add it. Just jot down a note because I think the next slides talk about it. Is everyone fine looking at this and we can move on to the next one?
I guess I have one quick question. Under building a culture of student support, under the strategies, I see form a care team, meet as a care team, and then refer out an extremely elevated case. I feel like there's a there. What are the strategies for the students that are identified before they are moved on to an extremely elevated level?
So there's something missing there, and you're right. When I refer to extremely elevated in this portion right here, this is per the BASC. So you know the assessment that they took, the BASC assessment, the students that either self-identified or were identified as by the parents or from the teachers as extremely elevated, those were the ones that we were talking about in this group. So is there something that we can put BASC in there to make sure that we're clear that that's what 2C is talking about? But do you also feel that there's a need to address students that have to continue to face challenges in the classroom and have a need to move on to the next level?
Yeah, it seems like there's just something missing between 2B and 2C where you're meeting to identify the students and then moving to, to an elevated level. What is being done in between there once you've identified the students? What is the CARES team doing in order to not refer someone to an elevated level?
And so, and that's what I'm saying. It's kind of mixing apples and oranges, and that's why I want to be clear. The BASC is the assessment that they take the 3 times in a year, right? That's the extremely elevated that it's talking about there as identified on the BASC. We do need something from what you're saying that once the students are receiving, actually once the students identify as having issues, we refer them to the care team and they receive that support within the care team. That 2C is referring to the students that whenever they take it, it could be for an emotional reason, it could be they're having problems in the family, it could be something at school, whatever that is, when they take the BASC, which is only that 3 times in a year, they identify on that. And that could be with anything. It could be something outside of school that causes that to happen. So the ones in 2B, once we have the care team, we can probably put something between A and B that talks about referring students with high needs. And then what they do afterwards is they meet weekly to make those recommendations. Once that student either does better, they come off of the care team once we find out what it is. It could be, we might have a child, just for an example, that was coming to school and they didn't have clean clothes on. And then we find out the parent lost their job or whatever have you. We find out a resource, help the parent find a job, or we help the child get his clothes washed. That problem is solved. The child is coming to school, they come off of the care team. But if we find something that continues to be an issue, then we have to escalate it. So let's say, for example, the parent has lost their job, they didn't find a new job, the child continues to struggle with having proper clothing for school, and the parent loses a place to live, then it's referred over to the homeless liaison. We find them a place to live, or they help them with with all those things as far as what they would do, transportation, a place to live, and then the child comes off of the care team. So either way it goes, they're going to be serviced once they're put on the care team. So we can add something between A and B and make B C to talk about who gets referred to the care team, but C is specifically referring to the BASC.
Yeah, and I think maybe what BJ is saying too is like, we're meeting to determine the needs of the students that require additional support. But then are we giving them like,
What is the support?
right, we're meeting weekly to determine the needs of students and provide additional support as needed. I think you're saying.
It
It
is,
is.
but I think Mr. Hudson just kind of answered it. I don't know that we can be so specific because it is individualized. So it might not be as a specific strategy that we can identify on this document because it's sort of an as needs basis, right?
It is. And BJ, it can be anything from, it could be academic concerns, behavioral concerns, social emotional concerns, or something that's going on in their life that's, something like a death in the family and things of that nature. So it's a broad scope that we have on the care team. But whatever it is, if we find that it's impacting a student at school and we're not able to solve it in 1 or 2, with the teacher, then we recommend them to care team so that we can see what we can do as a school to support that student with either our resources or even outside resources or the district, what we have in hand at the district.
I'll say one more thing about this, and I don't know exactly how the BASC works, but on 2C, like if we said we administer BASC and assign students who are extremely elevated to these people, but I feel like there's a missing piece with like the teacher having any part of that. Like kids score high and then we send the kids off for additional support, but does there need to be something that takes place in the classroom that involves the teacher, or is the teacher just completely not a part of that?
I think, well, part of the teacher's part in it is he or she evaluates the student, and some of the identification for extremely elevated comes from the teacher. It also comes from self-identification for our older students, and sometimes it comes from the parents. So they do have a voice in that they get to say, hey, this child seems to be extremely elevated. And that's part of, I guess, and they won't have a conversation or they won't just leave it to themselves. They will loop back around to the teacher. That's what I anticipate should happen. So here are the questions we have to answer. Are all CIP goals reflected in our strategic plan priorities? If not, which CIP goals are missing and should be added to the strategic plan? What progress has been made towards the priority identified in our strategic plan? What evidence data do we have? Based upon available data, are there any other adjustments we need to make to the strategic plan? So I am going to jump to this slide here.
Well, Mr. Hudson, you don't have to go back to slide 14, but with slide 14, you know how you have, okay, your initiatives, priorities, school strategies. Do you need a fourth column to kind of say which goal this is meeting, or all of them should meet all 4 goals?
Well, this is the template that the district is giving us that we have to follow. So that's, I mean, that's pretty much where I got it from.
Thank you.
Mhm. But you would say, what were you thinking about adding? Let me hear it one more time so I can be.
Sometimes when I see things like this about academic goals, after you list the strategy, sometimes I'll see a column to say how this whole row going across will respond to which goals. Like these respond to goals number 1, 2, or objective number 1, 2, and 3 of our overall plan.
I understand.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
So it doesn't, so keep in mind, this is a broader plan. The strategic plan is a broader plan. So it doesn't really, it aligns in a sense that the CIP plan is a 1-year plan. And so some of the goals, like if we look at fostering academic excellence for all, the literacy and the mathematic goals are encompassed in that, right? When we talk about the whole child and intervention, the care team and so forth is in that. But then there's some other things that are in this plan, like for example, when Ms. Stroke was saying about retaining of teachers, that's not in the CIP plan.
Yeah.
We're looking at literacy, numeracy, the whole child, and parent engagement on our continuous improvement plan. But this is a strategic plan that covers more than that, and it's supposed to be for 5 years.
Got it.
But it comes from here. Some aspects of it come from here, but it's just, this is what we're focusing on for this year. That the other goals are things that will be a 5-year goal that we have. Okay.
Yes, and then one more, building upon the retention of the students, of the teachers in the school, is there a concern too about the retention of the students in the cluster, and that they continue through the pipeline even after they graduate? Is that like,
from Smith?
Yeah, like that our education is so exceptional that we retain students in the cluster and they don't go off to private school or something like that?
So I believe, and Miss Reed, was that part of the, that was part of the goals? I know you were there with me. That was part of the goals that we discussed as part of the cluster, right?
I do believe so.
Yep. So when we talked about as a cluster, we talked about as a cluster retaining it. So we also have a cluster plan, and that's part of the cluster plan to retain those students and make sure that the North cluster is somewhere that they would want to be for elementary, middle, and high school all the way through.
Correct.
Okay. So do we feel that all the CIP goals are reflected in our strategic plan priorities?
Can we flip back to those CIP goals real quick? Was that,
No, that was,
sorry,
nope,
that was too many slides ago.
it actually was. You know what? It's a different,
The whole nother presentation, right?
it sure was. You
Are
know,
you,
I have,
can you email it so we can read it with you?
yeah, let's try that. One moment.
Yeah, because if we could look at the CIP goals and then have that other slide up, then maybe we can work through that.
Mr. Hudson, while you're working on that, did you by chance happen to get the recap and the notes from our cluster meeting earlier this week?
I am not certain because I believe I left out of town. I was at an IB conference right after that,
Okay.
and I'm just getting back. I couldn't believe how many emails I received over 3 days, and I was trying to answer while I was gone.
Okay. I just had not gotten anything, but.
I don't think I did, but I don't want to say I didn't. Okay, read. Magali. Miss Stroke, your email's not coming up for me. What is it again?
ALISTROK @hotmail.
There it is. Thank you. Miss Derrickson, yours isn't coming up for me either.
Sorry, CHINTON @cau.edu.
CHI.
And is it Nancy TO?
I have
Okay.
it. Thank you. All right, it's a link to the plan because this is in Office 365. Let me know if you have any trouble viewing it.
Got it, Mr. Hudson.
Did it open for you all?
I'm opening. No, it's asking to give access.
Okay, I saw that it might be an issue. 1 second, I'm downloading it now. Okay, I sent the actual file this time. I was able to download it. Sorry for the delay.
That worked?
If we also wanted to look at the previous strategic plan in the old format, we could too.
Mr. Hudson, do you mind sharing the screen that has where we need to answer those 3 questions?
Sure thing.
Mr. Hudson, which slide number do you want us to start at on the one you just sent?
The orange colored slides. I think there are about 4 orange colored slides.
Yes, I found it. It's slide 6.
Mhm.
Mr. Hudson, do you mind showing the strategic plan priorities?
From the one that we were looking at tonight.
Yes, the one from the first question to see if these goals are aligned to it.
And if we
Thank
could
you.
make it just a little bigger too, Mr. Hudson, for the hard of seeing.
Which includes myself.
Just in number 7 here, I think you're saying a tiered coaching model instead of a tired coaching model was just a quick
Definitely.
little update in there. And while I'm speaking, the one adjustment I guess I want to suggest for this page is actually in the 4th goal at the top. And it would just be to move where you say by 2025. So to me, I'd look to start implementing those meetings and workshops and fireside chats now. So I would write like, we will implement a series of parent workshops and fireside chats to increase engagement, to improve ADA from 93% to 96, right, by 2025. Yeah. So the other ones are, the first sentence is more outcomes focused versus actions focused. I just want the action to, that's it.
Yep, perfect.
Okay.
Do you mind scrolling down so we can see all of the school strategic priorities?
I know I always do that. I got us off the.
No, but that was a really good point that you made. I'm glad you did that.
Okay, that's perfect.
I guess with the CIP goals, the first 2 are utilizing PLCs. And am I missing that in these somewhere?
I think the reason I left it like that is it was really all encompassing those goals below, because that's the work that we do in the PLCs. Give me your thoughts on that.
No, I agree. I agree.
I'm gonna plug in a goal under number 5 that came from the previous plan. It's not gonna reside here, but I just want you to see it because I think this is important that we may need to keep it. This was in the previous plan, but I didn't have it on this one. Believe it'll go under the first, fostering academic excellence for all.
I definitely think we need that.
I agree.
And then I think that grabs at ESOL, special ed, gifted, everyone in one statement.
And Mr. Hudson, this is just a clarifying question. I think you said this, but I just want to make sure I understood. So everything in the continuous improvement plan should be in the strategic plan, but not everything in the strategic plan has to be in the continuous improvement plan. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
So I'm doing some shifting.
So going back to that original question we're answering, it's looking like a yes to me.
Agreed.
And I think with adding that goal, we're gonna have to add some other, once we add that last goal under fostering academic excellence for all, needing to go back and add in some more school strategies to discuss that. But I think we can do that and then just add that in and fix that part of it. So looking at our second question, I kind of discussed that as we talked about the data that we have, as we reviewed it and talked about the plan and where we still need to continue working. And then I think looking at those next two based upon any available data that we've looked at that you're aware of, or if you need more information or any other adjustments we need to make to the strategic plan.
I don't think so, from my
I mean, I
perspective.
think we still need to add in something about teacher retention. I think that was somewhere in the old one. And I think you said at the beginning of the year, there was a survey done with some lower teacher scores, like teacher happiness or
Mhm.
something.
The engagement data from last year.
Right,
So
right.
that was last year. I do know
Right.
that coming out soon, we will have this year's, our baseline for this year since I've been there. But I don't know if I'll have that in time to make the changes that we need to make. But we can definitely add that in as a goal.
Okay, yeah, I think that still needs to be a goal.
So I think at this point, It says enter all changes, updates to your plan. Be sure to include accountability measures as appropriate. And then I think let's see what's next on these. I don't think, and you all tell me because you've done this before, I don't think we're ready to vote on this strategic plan. I think I need to go ahead and add in a few things, add in what we talked about and some other strategies under the strategies to accompany the two that we referred to already. Make those changes, email it out, and then we could have a quick meeting to vote. What are your thoughts? Is that something that we could do?
That's something that we're allowed to.
That's what I was gonna
team.
ask. Are we allowed to do that?
Well, that's you.
I mean, I know we added some. I mean, do you remember, Ben? I mean, I know we've done some quick kind of meetings for things kind of like this. I don't know.
Or do we have enough time to wait and just do it on the next one?
I don't know. When is it due? I never
Yes,
saw
my
when it.
concern, yeah, is that the Go team has an expectation, or the Go team office has an expectation that we approve this today. Is my only kind of concern here.
Is Ms. Gibson on with us?
I don't think she joined.
She did not. And
I thought I saw her on earlier though, but obviously not now.
So what needs to be added? I'm sorry.
Just adding in, once we add that IB portion, then
Mhm.
going in and adding strategies for that. And then also, what was the other thing?
on the teacher engagement.
Right,
retention.
teacher engagement.
I think we can have a meeting. We just have to have time to post it. So, which is only 3 days, like, right? It's only like 72 hours that we have to post a meeting.
Okay.
Would this meeting have to be before next Friday? Since
That's
you're
the
going,
only question is when is the thing due? When is the strategic plan
Well-
plan actually due?
Hold on 1 second. So it says September to December, utilizing current data, the Go team will review and update the school's strategic priorities as needed. I think they're telling us that we're here on this one. No. Before winter break, Go team will, so it does have to happen before the break.
Look, I mean, I think it's a special purpose meeting, so it would able to be, you know, briefer than not. You know, so to me, today's Tuesday. I think we need to plan to have a meeting next week. Maybe middle of the week. And hopefully, Mr. Hudson then give you time to integrate these additional goals and circulate the updated strategic plan to all of us. I think the other thing that would be helpful when that happens would be to provide thoughts on rankings of the priorities, so that when we come back together, we're looking more to adjust and approve and provide comments and approve versus starting from scratch. And personally, I think it's great if you can offer your thoughts first on priorities, being that you are the principal of the school.
And I mean, I know we're overtime right now, but if we wanted to take, because the priorities aren't necessarily going to change, I just want to make sure that we write down what they are.
Okay.
Put some strategies in if we wanted to take a few seconds now to go ahead and do that and then close out the meeting for tonight. I'll make the
Oh, I think
changes.
we still have a couple more things we need to do, I think, before we close, but yeah, we can do that still. I'm fine with that. If we,
I think that's on the agenda, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so let's take a look at what's left. So we make the updates to the plan. Any questions, wonderings, comments? Then we talk about we're preparing for budget season. This is where it tells us where we are. And that's why we have to rank our priorities. So the next things that we have to do is basically the GO team needs to take action, vote on its updated strategic plan. We need to rank the priorities, which is this step here. And then we need to vote on the priorities. So that would basically be the next meeting. That would be the next meeting. So if we can just rank the priorities and then we make the changes, it'd probably be a quick 10-minute meeting and we could probably do it virtually. I think we should do it virtually.
I agree. What does next Thursday look like?
I think next Thursday for me is fine. Let me double check my calendar.
It works for me as well.
I can do that.
Are we
So-
looking at the same time, you guys?
3:15 to 3:30,
I'm down. I'm good. Mhm.
and we'll have everything there to review already. I'll have that out to you hopefully by Thursday at the latest. And I just need to check my calendar and make sure I'm clear for Thursday at 3:15. Yep, I'm good to go. One moment.
We agreed on Thursday the 15th.
Yes, 3:15.
Are we in agreement enough to establish a quorum?
Allison, Ben, Nina, UJ, Simona, that's at least 5. I think Jennifer and Carla.
Yeah, I can be there virtually.
Okay,
Good.
yeah, it looks like we're good.
Ms. Magali said she can't be there,
Okay,
but I will run through everything with her beforehand.
okay.
Okay, so looking at the priorities. I'm just going to stick all of the copy and paste all of the strategic priorities here again. I know we said we'll word that better later, but we know that's one. Okay. So we have them here. We can reorder them as we need. But as we look at this as a team, adding staff retention and IB is in here. Anyone have any recommendations for the number one?
Is there a way to make it all even, all the same
Sure.
size and such?
I feel like the first thing is create a school-wide culture of high expectations, trust, and strong communication.
Who's that, Jennifer?
Yeah. Followed by IB.
Yeah, I was looking at IB really near the top, if not
Yeah.
number one.
Yeah.
I also like number 5 very much, the one that we added earlier.
Yeah.
That's
I do.
actually what I was looking at as number one, to be honest.
Yeah, I was just thinking that without number 8, we can't do any of the other stuff.
I see that too. Does anyone disagree with number 8 being number one?
No.
What about number 5 as number 2?
Yeah.
That's that. I'm right there. That would be my number 2.
Can 3 and 4 be combined? Or no, because they talk about 2 different topics?
They're 2 different ones.
I mean, I have a personal stake in the old number 2, develop a literate community in which students read and write with clarity and fluency across the curriculum. We've got some really bright kids at La Amistad, but they're struggling in math just because their reading is really behind. So I feel like that's important.
I think that's a strong number 2. I mean, a strong number 3.
Right.
With number 1, the previous number 1 coming below that as a number 4.
And I'm I could see either of those, the old one or the old 2 being the next one, right?
And I like the 3 and the 4 to come after that.
Okay, so let's move 2. 2 becomes 3, correct?
Yes.
And 1
One
becomes
becomes-
4.
Mhm.
And then 3 and 4.
Become 5 and 6.
All right, we have staff retention.
Is that the focus of like the fourth number 6 that we have there, the authentic and diverse professional learning experience? Is the focus of that to improve retention?
That's to improve
Partially.
like teacher efficacy, like how they're teaching and what they need, which it will tie into retention as far as having that competence to do what they need to do in the classroom
Yeah.
and feeling like they're being supported and invested in. It
Right.
ties together, but I don't know. It's something separate still, but they tie together.
I mean, I suppose my question is, what else would you do to try to improve staff retention? Other than offering professional development? I mean, your hands are tied a little bit in terms of pay, right? That comes from APS in some regards. And anyways, I just, those 2, I was wondering if they would blend together in some way.
Yeah, I feel like some of the retention is the coaching model. Because that's about coaching teachers, no matter where they are, and just trying to support them, whether it's, academics or classroom management or other things. So,
I'm kind of
Maybe-
looking at it as number 6 is staff related. The first number 6 is staff. What am I trying to say? Several of them are staff related. I really think that CARES team should go next because that's more student focused.
Maybe you change your staff retention more to like a staff engagement. I don't know. I think there was something in the old one about something with the staff. I need to look at it, I guess.
We'll
I can-
take as soon as we do this.
But
we'll
maybe
take
it
a
was
look at
staff
it.
engagement. Maybe not necessarily, but if you have that staff engagement, maybe you do retain then you retain your teachers.
Or just
Right.
fostering that community of, or just fostering a community, a professional community of teachers that feels seen and heard and supported.
So are we looking at number 9 as moving up to be a number 8? Is that what you're saying, BJ?
Actually, number 9 is kind of, to me, stakeholders. That's kind of everybody else. So I kind of like it at the end.
Okay.
mm-hmm.
I see 6 and 7. So then I think 6 and 7 become 8 and 9. Because that's investing in our teachers.
And the
Let's
staff
put the-
retention becomes 10 and 9 becomes 11, maybe.
Let's see.
I mean, some of this staff retention is beyond our control,
Right, but if you change it to staff engagement, then you've got some of those like surveys that the teachers are completing, and then, it is something that could be tracked.
Mhm.
True, because when we start talking about data, what do we have? We do have retention rates, but we do have staff engagement data too.
Mhm.
So, right. So it's more of an engagement, I guess.
For number 8 and number 9, isn't number 8 more like the umbrella and then number 9 is like a specific action?
I
And
see that.
I'm wondering, guys, if also that staff retention, I'm just wondering, was that there because it's reflective of its impact on the work that's being done in the school, for example, like all of the training and resources and things that Sarah Smith is pouring into teachers to then have them leave? I'm wondering where it came from, I guess, is really the question. This retention, is it an issue and is it impacting the work?
Well, I think historically, Sarah Smith had teachers who stayed a very long time. And in recent years, for a number of reasons, whether, with the pandemic and with the change in leadership, we've had a lot of turnover. And so I'm thinking that that's probably what it's in regard to. Just, we do put a lot into teachers and trying to get them, into our culture and learning how to implement all of our resources and our curriculum. And then when they leave, we have to start over, and which does impact, the academic piece. So Allison, is that?
Right, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I
Does
think
that-
it was on our old strategic plan somewhere as well, so just.
So we're gonna go back to the old strategic plan in just a minute and take a brief look at that. But is everyone fine with this, how it is right now? And remember, we're gonna vote on this again, so we're gonna actually vote on it soon, so we can just kind of leave this here for everyone to think about and then come back to it when we're ready to vote. What are your thoughts?
I
I'm
think we can do
comfortable.
that.
Excuse me?
Yes, I think we can do that.
Okay. So let me stop sharing that and then go back to our old strategic plan. And let you all go enjoy your evening because we're way over. So I don't see a staff retention one.
I think it's down there at the bottom, maintain staff and parent satisfaction survey greater than 80%. I think that's where it was.
Where was that?
Way on the,
One more over.
Oh, I see it. And
all the way to the right.
that's a goal. So then it wouldn't be adding another goal. It would be, that would be one of our performance measures,
Right.
which I'm not sure they're using the same language on this one. All right, so let me jump back over to that. Excuse me.
I saw on that other slide that said that they want the school to host, these parent meetings and stuff. They want each school to do that? I mean, is that not something that the district could set up for the schools?
Which
Or are they wanting that? I don't know, I just saw it somewhere that with they want the parent engagement and coffee talks. They want coffee talks by the school, or are they wanting the school to bring in professionals to discuss different things? Like, yeah, I remember at one time we had somebody come in and talk about internet safety. Is that the kind of coffee talks they want, or are they wanting fireside chats and talks by staff at the school?
they just want us to engage. It could be a variety. So, I've done one so far. I'll be doing one on the 14th where we talk about IB. The first one we just talked about the MAP scores, but it's
Right.
just engaging the parents. It's not, they're not.
So they want some of both. They
They
just
just
seems
want
like
us to engage.
engage. Okay.
And thanks, Katie, for that message. So I think, so what do we want to do with that staff engagement? Do we want to leave it on there or make a change?
And personally, I think it's too detailed. I would think that there was one there that talked about providing different kinds of opportunities for coaching. I do think that offering a tiered coaching model would fall under that. And so we wouldn't need to have multiple priorities there. And I view teachers as being stakeholders. So I also view those two priorities as being somewhat redundant because teachers are included in number 10 also.
So that would leave us with 10, and the engagement piece, we would just, the engagement piece of it would be monitored and measured by our staff engagement surveys.
Yep. That's right.
So we'd have 10 priorities.
Oh, I think I was thinking 9.
Right, that would move it to 9.
Yeah.
What? Hold
10 and
on.
the old 10 and 11 merge and the old 8 and 9 merge. I really don't. I think it'd be better to have a more generalized kind of priority around teacher training and coaching versus having 2.
Okay. Merge 10 and 11, merge 8 and 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and part of that is just to create focus as well. It can get really hard. All right, so Mr. Hudson, you're going to circulate that out to us, and we've agreed that we'll meet on Thursday, the 15th at 3:15 virtually. Allison, I suppose we're going to need to post notification of that meeting,
Yes, I'll get it posted.
coordinate on a brief agenda for it.
Right, I think for the agenda, we just have to update the plan, rate the strategic plan priorities, and then vote on the plan would be our agenda.
Yes, agreed. I noticed there were a couple of other items on our agenda for this evening. Sorry, did you have something else you wanted to mention?
I think you were going to say it because I was going to ask, do we roll over these other agenda items or are we just voting?
So the
think
other
the only
agenda
other-
items I see would be there's the discussion item 6 on the February and March meeting dates.
Mr. Hudson had a conflict, I think, with those dates. Do you want to discuss that, Mr. Hudson, or what do we want to do with that?
Yes, those 2 dates are principals meetings, and I won't be in the building. Last time I had to leave early, and the first time I think they didn't say much, but I don't want to press it.
Right. So we have currently February 16th. If we move it the week after we're out of school for winter break. We have a January 26th. So if we're
Does
keeping
that
with
give
the Thursday, right, February 9th, we could move it to, I think our initial discussion was, do we have enough time in between that? Because that's budget talks. I don't know, what do you think, Ben? We could go to February 9th, I think.
I think that would make sense. Well, I'm not sure we need so much time between the first 2 meetings. Or do we want to do like the 15th? Is that
Right, and just, I think we originally said no to Wednesdays because maybe there was tutoring or some other after school stuff. But I don't know that that still isn't in place, so.
If everyone else is fine with February 9th, I am.
I'm good with that.
it works for me too.
Okay.
Oh, we're moving a meeting, is that right?
Yes, 2/16 will become 2/9,
Thank you.
and then we need to look at the March as well. So we currently have March 9th on the calendar for our for that meeting. And then
March 16th, they have us at the 16th as a meeting as well. Both can't be right. But if we want to play it safe, the 23rd is fine for me. I don't know how that looks for anyone else.
It looks fine for me.
It's fine for me also.
I can do that.
Everyone else?
What date was that again? The
23rd?
23rd.
March 9 will go to March 23rd.
Okay. Yep.
And then next Thursday is March 15th. I mean,
December?
sorry, December 15th. Okay.
All right.
And you repeat it again, March got changed to
March 23rd.
Friday. No, I'm on the wrong month.
Thursdays.
Thursday. Okay, got it.
Okay. So I think with that, we've covered the various items on our agenda today. With the exception of approving our strategic plan and ranking the priorities, which we will defer to next week's meeting. I do also see here an informational item on the principal's report, Mr. Hudson. So is that something where you'd be able to provide us with some high points here now?
We can circle back to that.
Okay.
I'll take 5 minutes in the next meeting. And then
Okay.
maybe also by then we'll have the cluster notes, and then we can share that out as well.
Okay, wonderful. So
So
we'll
maybe
have the principal's report and cluster some, meeting summary to our meeting that we'll have on December 15th.
all right.
Okay, does anyone have any announcements? No, we have reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time? May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I
Thank,
second that motion.
thank you, BJ. All
Who
in
was the
favor,
first,
please raise your
Jennifer?
hand. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all, and we'll look forward to receiving the information from you, Mr. Hudson, and we'll see you all next week.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And
Thank
sorry
you.
it went over.
Bye-bye.
you,
No
team.
worries. Thank you. It was a good meeting.
Bye.